We will be offering towards the end of the program for you guys to ask questions. The lecture is going to go rather quickly, and if you have questions, we're going to keep them to the end. So if you're thinking about them, you might want to write them down or do something to that extent, because you're going to be getting a lot of information. The reason why we're recording it is because you will be able to go back and refer to it, and that's always important, to have something to refer to if you forgot something or you want to get a little understanding. And as your understanding evolves and changes, you might start to get new ideas or concepts for you. It's really important to understand or consider that we're all individuals, and however we could all drink out of the same cup of tea, we're all drinking it kind of differently. We're holding the cup differently. We may like honey or sugar or milk or whatever. So the cup of tea we're drinking from is the same cup of tea, but it's important to consider that it's your cup of tea, and however you like it, or whatever you extract out of this evening, you can personalize it. So I'm a real big component that there's not really one specific way to do anything. Like, there might be one way to get there, but once we start to get there, the beautiful part of life is that we're all individuals, and our ideas and concepts can shape all of us in different ways. Even though I may be a teacher or teaching you this evening, I'm still a student teacher, and you folks are student teachers as well. What I learned from you is equally as important that you learn from me, and we learn from each other. And that's a really monumental concept as we move forward this evening. So the topic this evening is what is inner work? And instead of me trying to summarize that in a very short sentence or paragraph, I'm going to give you an overview, and we're going to work through that overview, like I said, pretty quickly, because I can't do this whole thing in 2 hours or an hour and a half. But we're gonna do a nice overview and give you a concept or idea what inner work is. So I know some of you have started your inner journey or your self-realization, and that's a real important thing. Would everybody say we're all starting to look inside more than looking outside, right? Looking inside for answers. So I want to say that even though we can get answers from the outside, a lot of times, again, those answers are explanations or other people's answers and other people's explanations. So it's important to consider that when you start your inner journey, your inner work, take whatever teachings that resonate with you and really see how they relate to you and how you can use them. Because if we use them the way other people use them, we're not really looking at ourselves individually. We're really just taking concepts or ideas from other people and trying to implement them in our lives. So we can implement them, but we need to evolve in them in a special way. That's why we're all uniquely look different, because the great creative force has uniquely made us similar, like a cup of tea, but uniquely we're all different. We have different color eyes, hair, skin, face, everything. We're all humans, but we're different. So you guys ready to take the journey? Here we go. So what I'd like to start with is a foundation. To build anything or to build anything strong, we need a solid foundation, right? If our foundation isn't solid, we're building on something substandard. So I want to say to you that your foundation consists of a duality, and I'm going to explain that to you, because the concept, I am, we've all heard this concept. This is the real core, fundamental of understanding our foundation. I am, right? I am is a suggestive term, and I use that term as more of an understanding of the creative force. Okay. When we came to be, or our first light, or at the point of gestation, when life started to happen, two things collided and there was a great light. And that is the point of light. In that point of light suggests your foundation. It suggests to you, and you might consider that you are part of a incredible creative force. This creative force and this point of light, and how this happens and how you multiply in that force, is that force knows everything about you. It knows how tall you will be, what color hair you will have, what your hands, fingers, fingernails. It really has the information of everything that you are and will become, physiologically and spiritually. Not so much mentally, but we'll get into that as we move up this concept. So at the point of light, and in this creative force, you have a foundation. You could say this is the God force within you. Okay. So initially at birth, we have a very strong foundation. We're built on something, right? We're built on the promise of life. We're built on the promise of happiness and health, wellness, and joy. So that's the first part of our foundation, right? We have inherently become something wonderful, and it's been gifted to us freely. Okay? So in our foundation as well, we start to add to that foundation. Okay? We add to that foundation as we grow, as we learn, as we experience things, right? Some things that are very positive in our lives, and some things that are very, we could say, use the word negative or not so nice in our lives. So we start to build on that foundation. So that's where we need to really start. We know inherently we are children of a great creative force that's perfected and knows everything about us and is going to give us this beautiful life. But something starts to change in our foundation as we grow and get older, right? We start to have these moments, these experiences that kind of find their way down into our foundation and rock us a little bit. Can everybody understand that experiential and experiences rock our foundation? Right? You know, we wake up one morning and we don't feel ourselves, or something's wrong, or we're just not right. So understand that inherently the outside world, our experiences that we are having, are shaking the core of our foundation. So we want to understand that we can work and go into this foundation and pull out that part of us that's perfected, or that creative force. But it has to be something that we consciously do, right? If we're not consciously aware of what's happening, and we're adding and breaking the mortar or breaking the foundation a little bit, our lives start to wander a little bit. I know my life's wandered a little bit and still does. Does everybody else have that kind of idea or concept that our life wandered? What are we wandering from, right? We're wandering from this perfected foundation. So that's where we need to start. No matter what's going on in your life or what's happening, we have this beautiful foundation that we can always call upon. It never really went anywhere. We've just kind of altered it a little bit through time, through experience, through traumas, through fears, and all of this kind of nature. Okay. When I speak about the foundation, I am talking about your root chakra. This is your connection to a grounding or a place of stability, right? This is our fundamental stability. This is where we ground ourselves in this area, right? So it's as we start to move up through our system, and we're going to talk about the chakras and go through that because it's important to understand inner work in that place. All of those inherent things and those experiences, where do they reside? So predominantly, I will say there's a force, a gravitational force on Earth, and there's a gravitational force in you, that these experiences move down us into our root chakra or into our foundation, right? Now, it's important to understand that when we have these experiences, we've always been told that we need to talk about these experiences and bring them up, right? Interestingly enough, is when you have all these conditions in your foundation and you start to bring them up, you carry them back up through your entire system. And you're going to understand that as we move forward. So what I'd like to say to you is that there's two things that fundamentally will heal your foundation, okay? The first thing is forgiveness, okay? You don't need, I would like you to consider that you do not have to bring your traumas, your bad experiences in your life that are down into the bowels of your root chakra back up through your whole system, okay? You can let them go in a more natural way through forgiveness, okay? So we know physiologically that when we eat, our body takes nutrients into our body and it takes what it needs and then it gets rid of them in a certain way. I'm going to say in your intentions and in the place of forgiveness and gratitude, okay, you can let them go the way they're supposed to go, okay? You don't have to pull them out through your system. You know, psychiatrists and psychologists all want to pull it back out of you. So let's say deep down in your system, you're really in your foundation is rocked because something happened in your life and it's there and you've pushed it down and you pushed it down and you pushed it down and they want you to bring it all back up. Well, why would you want to bring all those feelings back up through your heart and through all your other energy centers? Why would you want to do that? Doesn't make any sense because now your whole energy system is reliving it. But if you can find the truth of forgiveness within yourself, that forgiveness is self-forgiveness first and foremost, right? And then when you find forgiveness within yourself, you will find forgiveness for everything around you. You do not have to harbor the past, and the past is not something you have to regurgitate or reanimate up through your system. Okay, how's everybody following me so far? Am I losing you? I'm going to tell you why, because the next part of your system is your sacral chakra, right? This is a place of feeling. This is an inherent place of feelings. Let's say, for instance, you know, your life's so busy and you've had all these traumas and all these things and all these experiences and they're down into the bowels of your root chakra. Where do you bring them first? You bring them up into your sacral, right? And that is a place of feelings. That's where you experience feelings. This is your pleasure. This is your pleasure center, right? This is where you find pleasure in life, right? Everything that you pleasure. So what do those experiences start to do to your feelings? They start to change the vibration and frequency of your feelings. Well, I don't have any pleasure in life, or I'm not feeling any pleasure in life, or I don't derive pleasure from anything, right? Well, why is that? Because you're constantly pulling that energy from your root chakra into your feelings, right? So you can, as you delete those things naturally back the way your body's supposed to delete them, getting rid of them the way your body gets rid of everything else, right? You start to realize that your feelings start to change and you start to derive pleasure, right? Where are you deriving pleasure from? I'm not necessarily talking about physiological pleasure or romance or intimacy or anything like that. I'm like, just the pleasure of you being alive, right? This is that we're starting to do inner work now. Where are we finding pleasure in our life? Where are we finding that feeling, that joyful feeling, right? Well, if we're working in the sense of forgiveness and gratitude, we know inherently that our body is a creative force, this beautiful foundation, and it wants us to have pleasure in life, pleasure from everything that we see, right? Even pleasure from things that we could see unpleasant. Because when you look at something that's unpleasant, it can be seen as pleasure to witness it and have somebody else show it to you and teach you without you experiencing it. You can find a good feeling in that. Like, no, I don't like that. I don't need to partake in that, but thank you for showing me that. Someone has now showed you what you don't like, what you don't want, and what you don't want to feel. To me, I find pleasure in that. I find gratitude in that. So there's the gratitude again. I'm finding gratitude for someone else or some situation showing me that doesn't belong inside my system. Like I'm looking at the inner work now, right? So it's important when you start to understand pleasure and how it works. This is something that is very much needs building blocks. You're not going to derive pleasure from everything in your life, but if you are deriving pleasure from the little things, let's say, for instance, you have a new kitten, or you have a new bird, or you got a new car, or you got a new job, where is the pleasure coming from, right? Those are all things to look at and consider and build on those, not building on that's not pleasuring you. Because remember, wherever you decide to live is what you're going to feel. So now we're working through this system. We're working through the idea and concept that the creative force wants you to be happy and derive pleasure from life. Where is it coming from? Where does that pleasure come from? It comes from your foundation. It comes from a source of creation that wants you to have it and has showed you and shows you every day with forgiveness and gratitude that it's there to enjoy, right? If you're connected to that, you'll start to build on it. It's important because as we move up this system, you're going to see how it all comes together. I derive pleasure from most everything, right? What do you derive pleasure from? Whether it's a cup of coffee or whatever, it's a feeling, right? So make sure you're in touch with your feelings. This is the inner work. What am I feeling? Why am I feeling that? Because someone's making me feel uncomfortable, or some things making me feel uncomfortable. Well, why? Because there's an experience in you that's in your foundation that you can relate to, that you saw, and you're bringing it back up. See how that works? You're bringing it back up to that pleasure center, and it's clouding it. It's taking that energy and that vibration, and it's muting it. We don't want to mute anymore. We want to be alive. We want to be pleasure. We want to have a strong sense of ourselves. So don't let those feelings mute it out. If you're feeling it and it's not right, it's time to let it go with forgiveness and gratitude. Okay? We getting this? Okay. So I feel, right? I do. What is it that you do, right? If you're in a state and your self-esteem is not where it should be, there's a reason for it, right? Because something in your core foundation, a memory or an experience, has altered your feelings, and now your self-confidence starts to collapse. Your self-esteem starts to collapse, right? So you can look at yourself again and say, okay, I'm not as feeling that confident today. Well, why aren't you feeling that confident today? Or why is your self-esteem not good today? It's inherently something from the outside that has spawned a memory in you, and you felt it's in the bowels of your energy system, and you're starting to bring it up. First you feel it, and now it's causing your self-esteem to drop. It's causing your confidence to drop. Well, 2 years ago, my boss said I was doing a terrible job and this and that, and I got fired and all. So right away, that feeling goes all the way down into your core foundation. It starts chipping away at your mortar, your strength, right? And when you hear those sounds and you start to get that again from the outside, you're hearing it here, but it's coming from here. It's coming back up, right? So when you feel it, it's not that you need to bring it back up and talk about it. It's that you need to understand it, comprehend where it's coming from, have the understanding that it's not you, that your foundation is strong, that you're very confident, and you let it go this way through forgiveness and gratitude, right? Forgiveness for somebody else. Well, my boss or this person was really mean to me. Forgive them. Because the irony of it is they don't even realize that they're doing it. They didn't realize that their mother and father gave it to them. They didn't realize that their boss gave it to them. See, they're acting unconsciously. So inner work is a conscious effort to always realize, where is it coming from and why is it affecting me, right? You can hold a very, very strong self-esteem for yourself and have a very, very strong constitution around absolute idiots. They don't know you. They're trying to create something around you that's not you. They have no conception necessarily that you are this beautiful person and you have a strong foundation in creation. You can't break that. So you're connecting to that foundation, and you're letting that confidence and that self-esteem say to yourself, I am confident. I know who I am. I do know who I am. I do know what I want. I will not be altered. I forgive them. You don't have to go back and argue and be fussy, and that doesn't work, because all you're doing there is bringing all those emotions from yourself back up, and now bringing it to something of the same vibration and frequency. It's not of creation. It's distorted. It's a mutated feeling and response that doesn't belong there, right? How many people have had their confidence absolutely shattered? Like, you're not worthy. You're not good enough. Like, you can't do that, right? All of those things. Well, if you have in your core foundation, if you have memory, like, I tried to do it, I wasn't good, I got belittled, or I got berated, or they made me feel terrible, that's down there. And once you hear it again, it starts to come right back up. It's like you're gonna throw it up, and you're gonna go right after on the attack mode. So know that you have the strength in this foundation to put all this together. This is inner work. This is consciousness. Okay? Because the subconscious mind, understand that the subconscious mind does not care and will do whatever you tell it to do. If you're a conscious thinker and you're saying, well, I don't know if I can do that today. I don't know if I'm good enough for that. You see, you're talking to something inside yourself. You're talking to your subconscious mind. And that subconscious mind is going to relate to your solar plexus, to that I do place. And you're going to feel less worthy, less able to complete the task to the best of your ability, right? So know that you have the strength to overcome this. This is the inner work. Your subconscious will do whatever you tell it to do. Well, I'm trying, or I think I can do it. No, you can do it. You may not do it exactly the way somebody wants to do it, but you'll do it. And trying to do it is giving yourself an out. If you say you're trying to do it, you're pretty much telling yourself, well, I might do it next time. Remember, it's important. So I always tell the story, right? I can play basketball. All right. I can dribble. I can make a few baskets, whatever. I'm confident when I'm playing in the best way that I can. But if Michael Jordan got on the court, or a great basketball player, my confidence would be shattered, right? Well, why is my confidence shattered? Remember the comparison story. You're an individual. There's only one of you. You're 1 in 11 billion people. There's no competition. You're still playing basketball. You're still doing your task. Be confident in it. You will grow in it when you're confident in it. When your self-esteem starts to sink, you will decline in it. Always be in a state where you're not declining. It's important to consider that when you think about your energy systems and your solar plexus. Your solar plexus and your creative force wants you to be confident. It's giving you all the tools in the moment to be confident. You don't have to worry about it. Just remember, forgiveness. Forgive yourself. Have gratitude for what you do, what you can do, how you can do it, and it will get better. It will get stronger. Don't compare yourself to anybody. It's going to bring you right down. It's going to tear your frequency and your energy apart. Self-confidence. You guys got it. It's there. It's inherently yours. Pleasure is yours. You just got to know it's there. You just got to know that nobody's allowed to take it from you. Your foundation is yours. It knew everything about you. It knew the size of your little toe. It knew every little hair on your body. It knew everything about you. The God force, or the creative force that made you, absolutely loves you and has given you a strong foundation. It wants all the pleasure in the world for you, and it wants you to be confident to know that that resides in you. This is the faith that compels us to our heart, right? Because the heart is the equilibrium of our system. So people always say, well, I got my heart broken, right? No, your heart wasn't broken. Okay. Consider this for a minute. Why was your heart broken? Because your self-confidence was destroyed? Or your self-esteem? Or you lost pleasure of life, or you lost pleasure with someone or something, and it shattered your foundation. All you got to do is look at that foundation and say, hey, I'm part of the creative force. I have a strong foundation. I derive pleasure in life. I am confident, and what I am seeing, I forgive and have gratitude for, because I've learned something from it. That is the teaching source, right? The person, place, or thing that taught you what you needed to see, how you needed to see it, and how cool is it that it was there? Because now it's catapulted you into a place of love. This is your heart. This is the equilibrium of your body. This is like the middle ground, right? If you bring your energy system up from your root chakra to your heart in the proper channels, there's only one thing that can happen. You'll fall in love with yourself, right? Well, why wouldn't you be in love with yourself? If you're not in love with yourself, your lower extremities, your lower energy systems are suffering. There's things there that just aren't rolling around properly. It's a conscious thing. It's forgiveness. It's not going somewhere and talking to somebody about it and bringing it all back up. Imagine your poor heart sitting there in the middle of this, right? Of your body, your energy system. I'm doing the inner work. I'm seeing all this stuff. I'm talking all this business. My heart doesn't know whether I'm coming or going. I'm not deriving pleasure from anything. It's getting hit in both directions. It doesn't know what to do with itself. Is it broken? No, it's yearning to be set free. Your heart is always yearning to be set free. A free heart is a heart that's full of compassion. A free heart is always full of forgiveness and gratitude. It's that simple. Nothing or nobody has the power over you. The power that's in you is part of the creative force, or the God energy, or whatever you want to call it, whatever resonates with you. The love that you have for yourself is paramount, right? Because once you love yourself, something happens. You start to realize there's an intuitive force in you, right? That intuitive force will always guide you correctly. This is the connection between the heart and the rest of the energy body. The heart always knows. You always could have a gut feeling too. But remember that all the energy from the outside is coming into you in a certain way. Ear, eyes, nose, it's coming into you in a certain way. So you're kind of ingesting it. So it's time to free your heart. The heart doesn't break. It's working so hard just to keep you alive. Matter of fact, it's working 24/7, 365 days a year for your whole entire life. It's keeping you alive. You can live without a brain. You totally can. Most of us, there's a lot of people who do live without a brain, but you can't live without a heart. And to live with the concept or idea that you have a broken heart is, it doesn't work. Not if you want to protect and be on this inner journey or create that place within yourself that's part of creation. Okay, so let's say, for instance, somebody passes away, right? So in your foundation, you have this, you have all these feeling, all this stuff that you've pushed down there, right? When somebody passes away, it all comes back up into a feeling. You get sad, it goes into your heart, right? Where did it come from? No, it's gratitude for the person's life. It's forgiveness for any misfortunes or anything that wasn't done or that wasn't said. And it's love. It's freedom. Well, your heart didn't have anything to do with that. Your heart's striving to keep you alive. It's striving to be that equilibrium and that force of love. Where did it all come from? It's all from your foundation. It's from your what you've learned, your teachings, your experiences, your traumas, your fears. All of that is right down there. Your mind teaches you and shows you and helps you bring it up because you lost consciousness. You're not thinking about it. You're just going on autopilot based on just memories. So it's really important to free your heart and know that the heart won't break. It can't break. If it breaks, we know what a heart attack looks like. We know in a physiological sense, when the heart goes, we know what happens. But is it when you're living, when you're fine, is it broken? Are the emotions really coming from your heart? Is your heart really broken? You're pulling it in your energy system. Your heart is not harboring it. The bowels of your existence are. Okay? Because you haven't released it yet. So consider not to get tricked that you need to bring it all back up again and speak about it and feel it again and go through all of that stuff again. You're going to make you feel better? No, you're going to feel, is it going to make you feel better? Now, some people might say it would, but I say in my experience, it just brings all of those bad memories and all that bad stuff together. The creative force will take it from you gladly. Just give it to the creative force, right? Give it to the source that can put it in the fire, into the fire pit. Just let it go. Okay. So we started to talk about the subconscious, right? And how we talk. So I talk. I am, I feel, I do, I love, I talk. Our throat chakra is probably one of the most powerful sources in our body because it's really where sound comes from. We make sound, we make vibration. That sound and vibration has a frequency and has an energy to it. I can honestly say that any one of you can make somebody's day or break somebody's day just with what you say, right? If your heart is free and you are feeling confident and you are deriving pleasure from life and you know unequivocally that you come from a higher source of creation, your words will be beautiful. Your words will be beautiful to everything and everyone you touch, even if there is misery and bad feelings or bad harboring to you. Because you know, if you're conscious, when you speak, you are either connecting to their vibration. Oh, the argument has started, right? The frustration has started. You're already starting, your vibrations already start to get altered. All those feelings from down below are coming back up. You're not happy anymore. You've lost all your pleasure in your life. You're angry. Your self-confidence is getting beat up. Your heart is in overdrive and in panic mode. Like, what do I do? I got this coming, I got this coming. What do I do? Let's keep them alive, right? So know that your sound in your speech is really important, right? A lot of times we speak unconsciously. We speak from our subconscious. Oh my God, I can't believe I said that, right? You didn't even know you said it till it was out. Once it's out, you can't retract it. But understand that whatever you put out there is inherently a boomerang. That's how the universe works. If you say something and you put it out there, it's coming back to you. It's either going to come back to you one way or the other. It may come back to you in a week or two, and that person may say to you, oh, remember when you said that? And the whole thing starts over again. Like now you're reliving 2 weeks ago, right? So I talk in our inner journey, in our inner work. We want to talk first and foremost. We want to talk to ourselves properly. Okay? Understand that our energy system is based on energy, sound, and vibration. We may think it, right? And we've been told that you can't talk to yourself because you're crazy. I'm going to say to you, no, talk to yourself. Okay? Excuse me. The more you talk to yourself, the better. You don't have to talk to yourself around people. That might be a little weird. But you can think in your head, I'm okay, right? I'm okay. Or you could think in your head, I am. Or I am confident. Or I am deriving pleasure from this day. You can think it. But know that the universe is about vibration and energy and sound. Thought is powerful, but we are humans. Our sound is very, very, very powerful. So when we do our inner work, we want to talk to ourselves. It'll make a difference. If you're in a situation and you're thinking, I'm okay. If you take a deep breath and say, you know, I'm going to be okay. You've just talked to somebody. You've created a sound and a vibration. It's life altering. It's energy changing. It's the inner work, right? I am okay today. You could be driving down the road and thinking I am okay today. But if you get in your car and say, I'm okay today. I feel really good today. If you start talking to yourself, there's that little person inside you that's hearing you. It's going in your ears, right? You're feeling it. I guarantee you, if you think to yourself, I'm okay. If you say it, I guarantee you'll feel it. There's a difference. You can actually feel the difference. So understand that this self journey that we take and this inner journey is about self-dialogue, not only mentally or internally, but physically, right? So remember forgiveness. That's a big one. Forgiveness and gratitude. I forgive me. I forgive me. Now you can think it, and that's great. But when you say it, you're talking to yourself. It's not only in your mind, it's now going in your ears, and it's going, where is it going? First place it goes is to your heart. Then it goes to your self-confidence. Then it goes to your pleasure. Well, I've just derived pleasure from knowing that I forgive myself. And what happens? It flushes out. It's gone. In gratitude, it's changed, right? So it might be a little bit of a retraction, is like you don't need to talk about it. But I'm just saying the simplicity of talking to yourself. Look at yourself in the mirror and say, wow, I look really good today. That's it. Where is that going to go? It's going to go into your ears. Your heart's going to feel it. This is inner work. This is intentions. It's going to go into your heart. You're going to feel like, wow, you're going to derive pleasure from yourself. And your foundation is going to get so, so strong. Remember, whatever goes down comes up. So if you're putting the stuff down there, good stuff's going to come back up, right? Inner work. So now you say to yourself, well, I see, right? So in our energy systems, our eyes are superimposed, and I feel connected on a triangular basis to our third eye. Okay, if you look at me or you look at something and you close your eyes, you can see it inside. You can see it inside. So what are you looking at inside? What are you looking at inside? We know that the mind's working. We know that thoughts are working, and thoughts are changing our energy and our inner work all the time. But if we're allowing the real core of our energy to move up into our mind, the mind will absolutely change. If we start talking to ourselves, the mind will absolutely change. It won't have a choice because you're conscious of what you're doing. The only time the mind takes control is when the subconscious is in control. If you're in control and you're conscious that somebody's trying to affect your self-esteem or take pleasure from you or chip away at the mortar of your foundation, if you're conscious of that, you won't allow it to happen, right? And all of that strength is in your mind and you're conscious of it. It's all, like I said, only when you become unconscious of it does it affect you. So your inner thought, your inner eye is important. What do you see? We always look at things with a face value, right? This is real important. We always look at things in a face value. Well, if you're seeing somebody, you're seeing something you don't like, you're basing it on what? With your senses, or your ideas or thoughts or memory about what you're looking at or what you think you're looking at, right? Or what you're trying to understand. But if in your third eye, you can see your foundation and know everything that you want in your life, then you can see the same thing in that you're looking at. Because the truth is everybody around you and the creative force wants the same for everybody. It's no different, right? I forgive myself and I'm in gratitude for them showing me what it is I don't like in myself, or what I've dealt with, or what I don't want to take in. But if I'm looking at that and I'm really looking intuitively, I'm looking at a beautiful person. I'm looking at somebody who's an individual who there's only one of. I'm never going to see them again, right? It's never going to happen again. It's absolutely miraculous. What are you looking at? In our third eye and in our mind is where judgment happens. If your system is clear and you've done the inner work, you won't have judgment anymore. You'll have gratitude and love and forgiveness. And you'll find humility and you'll be humble. Like, that person has problems, or this thing has problems, or this country has problems, or whatever, but why? Because they're acting unconsciously. Their self-esteem got hurt. They have no confidence. They're lashing out. They feel confined. Their foundation is shattered. They don't realize who they are, where they come from, or anything. So we have more of love for that, right? We'll start speaking in a way. I talk. We'll say something nice to that person or that situation, or we'll start to alter the things around us. Remember that in your third eye, or in your in that inner vision, what you're looking at. What are you looking at? If you're looking at that, then you'll find compassion in that, right? So compassion supersedes everything. It supersedes everything. Once you find compassion, you have found the golden pot at the end of the rainbow. That is the key, right? We've done the inner work. This is the inner work. And what happens is when you find that inner compassion and that inner place within yourself, where you don't hate the person that hurt you, or you don't hate this person who tried to condemn you, or you find all of that forgiveness and you find that compassion, something happens. Your crown is anointed. We're always looking to open up our crown chakra and attach to the divine. Well, you can attach to the divine in certain times and certain places and to some degree. But when you find compassion and forgiveness and gratitude, you connect to that source that made you. That's the universe. That's the omnipotent, if you will, that we can't describe. Everybody wants to describe what it is. You can't describe what it is. But what happens when you open that up with a free heart, with compassion, with love, with confidence that you know it's there, with pleasure, that you derive pleasure from every single thing in your life. I got up out of bed, I walked, I can talk. I mean, I know people, I've met people in wheelchairs that derive more pleasure in life than people who walk around and can run 10 miles. So it really doesn't matter what station you are in life, it's still always there. So when your crown opens up and you're in that state of compassion, you connect completely, right? And if you're not connecting completely, why aren't you connecting completely? You know, did somebody smash on me or cut my self-esteem down? You just don't have to allow it to happen anymore. The inner work is about consciousness. Being conscious of I am, I feel, I do, I love, I talk, I see, and I know, right? It's really kind of simple, but hard, because we always want to talk about it, right? Allow the creative force within you to be your strength and power. Not somebody else, not anything else. It's really in you. I do a meditation, and I've done it for years, and anybody that sat with me will definitely remember probably the 5-gallon bucket meditation, right? Visualizing a bucket of water or a garbage pail full of water and drilling a hole in the bottom of it. When you open up to divine creation through compassion, your cups runneth over. It's just divinely pouring in you. If you put a hole in the bottom of your can, everything runs out. So you're not going to empty this big pail. You don't have to stir it up. It doesn't have to get dirty. It's just going to flow out. It flows out with consciousness, intention, forgiveness, gratitude, love, and compassion. That is my core belief of inner work. I think that really can work. It does work. It's important to see that beauty. Where is the beauty reside in your life? Well, I'm not beautiful. Or people told me I wasn't beautiful. So you see how all this starts to snowball. Where do those emotions go to? And why do they come back? They come back because they're inherently inside you. All emotions are resident inside you. And how strong they are inside you is based on how much you're holding on to. If you have forgiveness, if somebody's told you you're the ugliest person in the world and you forgive them, and you decide one day that you're beautiful, no one's going to ever change that again. They can say whatever they want. Doesn't matter. And then it's having compassion for that person, because inherently they knew what you knew before you let it go. They're living the same life. So why live the same life again? Why not live your life the way it was meant to be? Take that inner journey. Let it go. Just let it go. Is everybody following me so far? Or did I lose you? I think I lost myself. We really don't have to suffer in our foundation and in our creative force. We were never really meant that. Suffering's not part of the deal. The only person that suffers is you, because you want to suffer. Even in the most catastrophic events, suffering is something that you understand, that you've learned. But when you look at it with compassion, you look at it with love, and you look at it with forgiveness, why does it have to exist? Right? It's almost like, well, I'm ill or I'm sick, and that's what I'm focusing on, right? So if you're ill and you're sick and that's what you're focusing on, that's where you will reside. But do you have to reside there? No. You know, it's almost giving love, forgiveness, and compassion to that you're feeling. That's the real irony of healing. That's the real irony of how your body will feel. You're sending it something else. And inside your body and inside that creative force inside you will feed it and help you resolve it. It may take a little time. It could take a second, it could take a minute, it could take a month or a year, but whatever, it will get better. But if you focus on it and everybody's telling you that that's what it is and that's what it is, and you just constantly beating it inside you, you're almost, adding fuel to the fire. Why add fuel to any fire? Just put the fire out, and you'll find that things will absolutely change. So how are we doing for time? We've got an hour. So let's let's go around and get some input. Also, any questions or anything that you might have around what we've talked about?
Okay, I'll go. So
Okay.
I'll go. So let's say that you're talking to someone, maybe you, whatever, and there's the unhappiness, right? That's been there, let's say pandemic unhappiness kind of feelings, and really you don't have to relive the pandemic. You're saying, that negative, that came bombarding into our world. We just can feed it more positive thoughts, right? And it will, and forgive the uneasiness and release it. That's a very simple, I'm trying to find a way to make it a simple, because then you start layering in those 50 years of conditioning. And I'm hoping that you can do the same gentle cleansing with the 50 years of everything that's ever happened.
Absolutely. So, listen, we try so hard to let go of the past, right? And we try so hard to predict the future. Okay. We definitely don't have to hold on to the past. And we're definitely not going to predict the future. We can kind of get a forecast for what's going to happen. The only place we can live is in the moment, right? If we looked at the pandemic, this was in my feeling, this was a very scared global community. This was a global community that I feel made something much bigger than it should have been. And yes, it was big, I guess. But the only thing you have to work on as far as your concept about the pandemic is, where are you at with it? You know, the world's going to go about its business, right? And even though you live in the world, doesn't mean you have to partake in every part of the world, right? So I give this kind of example. I'm going to ask, Amanda, I'm going to say to you, I want you to visualize a ball game. Okay? Let's say a baseball game. Okay? And I want you to sit in the stands. Okay? And I want you to visualize the game. Okay? You can see the game pretty well, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's take that same example and say, I want to put you in the game of life. Okay? Amanda, I'm going to ask you to sit in the stands in the game of life. Can you see all of it?
No.
If it was a game, let's say for instance it's a game and it was like a baseball game, and you were sitting in the stands watching the game of life, could you watch the game?
Yes, I may not be able to see all the reverberations behind the scenes, but I can see the game.
Okay. Can you decide what you want to do and where you want to reside?
Yes.
It's very simple. You know, the world's full of a lot of different things and a lot of complexities and a lot of misrepresentations and a lot of fear and a lot of anxiety. But in the game of life, you can decide what part of that game you want to play. If you jump right out on the field, right? If you jump right out on the field, you have to play it all. But why play it all? Why not just sit in the bleachers for a minute and look at it and make a real conscious decision? I know that I'm part of a great creative force. I have pleasure in my life. I'm very confident. I have love in my heart. I speak well. Why, if I'm conscious of that, why am I going to partake in that part of life? You see what I'm saying? Because once you go out into the game of life or into that field, that energy and that vibration is going to be there, and you're going to have to partake in it. If you're strong, you can go and walk straight through it. But it's almost like you need to take a back step and realize what's happening. And it doesn't matter that you don't know all of the components of it. It's what feels right with you. And once you make a decision and it feels right and it hasn't disrupted you in any way, you know you've made a good choice. But if you're not feeling right and it's starting to interrupt or disrupt you in some way, it's time to get back on the bleacher and look at it again. What is it inherently that I'm seeing or feeling that I don't like? And it's not something you need to discuss with people. It's really your life, right? And what feels right for you. I know a lot of people with the pandemic that, are very pro-vaccine. And I know people that are very anti-vaccine. And both people have the right to their opinions and their feelings around it. Maybe some people jumped right into it because of fear or whatever. Maybe some people sat on the bleachers and looked at it. Maybe some people sat on the bleachers and decided that that was the right thing to do. But whatever it is, the individual has the right to make a decision for themselves. This is what I feel good. I felt good that I needed that I wanted to get that it made me feel better. Beautiful. Then there's the people who no, I don't feel good with that, right? So everybody everybody who's making conscious decisions, that's important. But if it's 50 years, 100 years, a million years, or whatever you're talking about, it only changes in the moment, right?
Right.
You can't change the past, right?
Right.
And you can't predict the future, right?
Right.
Some people feel they can, and some people do to some degree, right? But what you decide in the moment is actually what's really important. How do you feel about it? Is it the right decision right now? If you feel a month from there you made a decision and you're like, I made the wrong decision, it's in the past, right? And what if it's in the past, what do you need to do about that? Have gratitude for the decision you made, what you learned from it, and have forgiveness and bring love back to yourself. You see, if you beat yourself up for 50 years, you're going to create illness in yourself. Dis-ease causes disease, right? You don't need to do that. So the past is the past, except, I mean, listen, I've done a lot of, I wouldn't even want to, we'd be here for hours. Right?
Yeah, I don't want to talk about all that stuff. Yeah, I want to gently release it. Done. It's
Right.
done. It's done.
Right. So basically what it is divine creation. You're seeing it. You can say it. I am part of divine creation. I have love in my heart. You can feel the self-esteem. You can feel the pleasure. You're putting it down into the bowels where it belongs. And it's the same thing as going to the bathroom. You're letting it go the way it's supposed to go. You don't need to regurgitate all this business back up into your heart, hurt yourself again, make your heart crazy, start talking all this nonsense, gibberish, start to see and have flashbacks of this thing that happened, right? And then your crown, it's almost like a concrete block goes on there, and you just can't connect anymore. Oh, I'm stuck. No, you're not stuck. You just need to unstick yourself. Like the creation's still there. It didn't go away. So that's what it is. It's really that inner work. What is the inner work? I know, I see, I talk, I feel, right? I do. You see what I'm saying? I am. Right. That's all it is. And I forgive. Right. A lot of us get hung up when we do the inner work that, we did somebody wrong or we did something and they never forgave us. Right. Big one all the time. That's the big deal. Right. Can you forgive yourself?
And yeah, they're forgiving you. That's their issue. That's all. That's my opinion, right? Yeah. As long as you've done what you needed to do for yourself and acknowledgement, whatever that may, you can't own their feelings.
If you're in a state of consciousness and you're in the understanding that as humans, we make mistakes, and forgive yourself. It's important. It's important.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you a story. When I started this inner work in myself, there was one thing that always stuck in me and stopped me. And it was one thing I couldn't get past. And I got past a lot of my own self-destructiveness, destructiveness from other people, abuse, all kinds of craziness. But there was one thing that I couldn't get past, and it was when I was in 4th grade. We had a substitute teacher come in, right? This man, and I mean, how old are you when you were fourth grade? I was just a young kid, right? So I guess I was acting out, and he took a paddleball racket and beat me and threw me in a closet for the day. And then told me that if I ever told anybody that he would do it again. So I sat in a closet all day after being beaten with a paddleball racket. Right? I want to tell you, that was like I could not get past that. I could not forgive that person. Like for the longest time, I always said, and very few people know that story. My parents didn't even know that story. Thank God they're not here anymore. Very few people in my life, I would tell them, if there's any one person in the world I would kill, I would love to kill that man. Because I was beaten and I was hurt really, really bad. And it took me years and years and years, even while I was doing this work, to realize, how do I get over that? How do I get over that? Because every time I thought about it, it infuriated me. And if I could find the guy, I want to go find him. Like, that's just kind of the way I am, or used to be. And I finally realized that it wasn't his fault. I've been doing spirit work for decades and decades and decades. And, I'll ask spirit for help. But it was funny. Every time I came to that instance, I never asked spirit for help because I was so infuriated. Like, it was terrible. So when I asked spirit for help, spirit was like, he didn't know what he was doing. He didn't know any better. And spirit gave me that this was somebody who was abused and was just taking it out the way he knew it was taken out on him. Mm-hmm. And when I looked at it from a different perspective, I didn't need to talk about it. I've only said, there's only probably 3 people in the world who know that story. I didn't need to talk about it anymore. I realized that I could forgive this person based on he was acting out the way he knew. It wasn't his fault. He precipitated it, but that was part of him because he had experienced that in some way. Like, that was part of his life. So I realized in that sense, like, that was the last thing that catapulted me in my inner work. Like, I didn't want to kill him. It sounds kind of funny, kind of bad, but so we all have these tragic experiences, some more than others. But I mean, I could tell story after story after story like that. When I started to look into myself and what are the things that are holding me back spiritually, those were some of the things. And when I realized that I wasn't holding it in my heart. I was holding it so far down, like it was so far down in my energy system. I didn't even know it was there unless something brought it up. Like, if I saw violence against a kid, it would infuriate me, right? It would bring it right back up. Otherwise, I wouldn't think about it for years. But as it comes back up, it's like, what do I got to do with it? It's like, no, it's I know, I see, I talk, I love. It's just, I'm going to let it go this way and find forgiveness about it. So no matter how difficult it can sound or how bad it can be.
And that's a good point, that Brad, it's a lot of, as you go through life, you don't remember all the things that have happened, the experiences. They're not worth remembering every piece of it. But when that trigger occurs where you can get angry, and you're like, where did that come from and why? And you figure that out, you have something you can do. Once you have that trigger of anger, you have something you can do. And that's what it takes sometimes to get to that deep rooted thing.
We can't explain the misery and suffering of the world. We all experience it in some way, shape, or form. You know, people lash out in desperation and confinement and in so many different emotions, and they learned all that.
Mhm.
It's not inherently part. They weren't born like that, you know. Um, there are conditions and situations, like I believe, in our DNA and in our structure, personality traits and things of that nature that we're born with. But those kind of people acting out like that, I believe they learned that, you know.
No, I mean, but when you felt that anger, that trigger, you knew where you could go to work on yourself. If you have the consciousness thought of there's a trigger, where is it coming from? And let me clear this. You know, most people don't have the conscious awareness that it's something they need to work on as that life's coming back at you.
There's always that, folks. I believe there's always that beautiful part of us that is so inherently part of creation, that wants us to reconcile ourselves, reconcile our emotions, put ourselves back in that place where we should be, right? Mm-hmm. All of the troubles in the world are all based on a similarity, and the similarity is that they don't know, they can't see, they can't talk, they don't love. You see, that it's just a common thread within the energy system.
Thank you.
They don't feel, right? They just don't feel, right? So anyway, yeah, good one. Who else? Come on, let's talk. No.
Well, I don't have a question, but I will say that I've been working with Brad for almost 8 years now, and I've implemented this process that he's talking about. And what you, in the beginning, I almost like didn't stay because I was just like, I just want to be a better medium. I don't want to do all this inner work or whatever it is. And I didn't realize how much the inner work makes just everything better. It makes your consciousness better, makes working with spirit better, hearing that inner voice, using your intuition. Brad showed me how screwed up I was, and it helped me fix myself, and it helped me fix things that I didn't even realize were wrong. It helped me work through issues that I didn't even feel like I had, because, you know, you push things down, you forget about them, and you forget that anything's wrong. You're not thinking about it, like he says, until something happens where it brings it back to your consciousness. And I used to like to just pretend things never happened and move forward. And, you know, it's still a long process, but, you know, I can't thank him enough, because it really, it saved me in a lot of ways. So I'm grateful to him. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Brad, I would like to say, this is Stevie.
Hey, Stevie.
I would like to say, it sounds like a lot of the work is working almost from like top chakra downwards to your root, to your core. Kind of like the 5 downward bucket meditation that you were talking about. Could you elaborate a little bit more on that meditation?
Yeah, sure. So I wanted Stevie, where'd you go? Oh, there you are. I just have my throat. If you are in a practice and you can understand the principle or idea that there's a higher vibration or this creative force, and you can visualize this force and start to see this force, not with your eyes, but in your third eye or in yourself. Doesn't necessarily have to be in your third eye, but in yourself. When you can start to visualize this force within yourself, or visualize this force coming through you into your mind process, and allowing that to, with intention, to allow that to start to fill your body, okay? And visualize, and this is going to sound weird, but this is where it is, the bottom of the bucket, the hole in the bucket, let's say the bottom of your feet, okay? Or where you go to the bathroom. You're visualizing all of this coming in, and you're allowing yourself to release this, and you're replacing, you're almost like replacing the vibration or frequency within yourself with something different, okay? When I say it's a visualization, if you're visualizing it coming from source, or you're visualizing it within yourself, there's really no difference, because that is of source is that of you. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So if you can start to visualize that within yourself, and you're working from the top down, absolutely. It's just a visualization that you allow happen. When I started working years ago, I worked with a great teacher, Elwood Babbitt, and I had went up to see Elwood at Vermont, went to see him quite a few times, and he was one of my first mentors. And he told me, he said, I want you to do something. And I didn't quite understand him at the time. It took me a while. He said, I want you to go out into the woods. He said, I want you to dig a hole, and I want you to put both feet in the hole and bury your feet up to your knees. And he said, I want you to sit there, and I want you to visualize the sun coming through the top of your head and filling your body, and allow everything in your body to be released and absorbed into Mother Earth. So he actually taught me that meditation. I did it by myself. Like, it wasn't something that he guided me through, but he told me how to do it. I did the similar meditation with a teacher, Ping, from Tibet. He was a Shaolin, he was a Shaolin monk, but he was a monk from Tibet. And I met him here in New York, and he taught me the meditation, the sun meditation, about standing with the sun to your back and feeling the sun come in through the back of your head, and allowing the sun and the frequency of the creative force to flush you out. So there are meditations that you can do and facilitate for yourself. But my greatest understanding is when you bring in divine source, or you're seeing divine source, that divine source is actually resonant in you as well. So it's coming in you, but you're almost in a state of recognition that it's with you already. Mm-hmm. Like, don't or consider that it's not separate from you, and it's not something that is not part of you. Like, you're not bringing something in that you don't already have. You follow what I'm saying?
Yes.
And that's real important, because that is the concept or idea or consciousness that you are not separate from it. But when you sit and you're meditating and you're consciously, bringing in this divine source, you're asking something from outside of you to come inside you. But that you're asking to come inside you has been with you and resonant all the time.
I see.
It's almost like it helps. It will help you remember that is in yourself, that is in yourself, that also resides outside of yourself. You're not separate from it. Like people think they got to get it. You just have to remember it. It's almost like somebody saying to you, Stevie, you're beautiful. And then you say, wow, I'm beautiful. And you take that in. But the beauty was already there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can work with that. The beach is a great place. Anytime where you're around negative ions or the water, the beach, doing meditations, using the sun is a great venue because it gives you something to focus on. Anytime you have something to focus on that can really open up those channels within yourself, because you're really just opening up to yourself.
Thank you.
That was good. I forgot about Elwood and that meditation you told me.
If you don't mind, it reminds me of a method that Robert Brown used to tell me, and it's kind of funny. It's he taught me that to flush the toilet and then fill it back up with the light,
Right.
which is kind of a funny image. But yeah, I think the bucket method is a little bit less, a little bit more graceful, I guess you call it. But whatever works, right?
Right. I had a teacher years and years and years ago, and she was really awesome. And she, excuse me, I don't know why I'm getting so hoarse. She told me, she goes, well, you go to the bathroom, don't you? I said, yeah, I go to the bathroom. Well, she goes, honey, go there and shit that out. And some of you know me and know my teachers and might know who that would be. I won't say any names, but yeah. She was a dynamite lady, and she was funny at times. But she's like, that's not yours, and you put that into your body, you have to digest it. Now go shit that out. She was funny. But seriously, remember and consider that sorry, anything that you put into your body food-wise has to digest and go out, right? Has to. If it doesn't, you get sick and you die, right? You're bound up. Energetically, it's the same way. You're taking energy in. How are you taking energy in? Through your eyes, through your ears, through your nose, through your mouth, through the palm of your hands, through the bottoms of your feet, into your stomach, into your navel. You are taking in energy. It is coming through your etheric field, and it is going in you. If you're not conscious to see it and be aware of it and sit in the bleachers and decide it's not yours, you're letting it in. It's coming inside you. Once it's inside you, universal law, you have to digest it. You got to. It's inside you now. Well, I didn't want it. Well, you weren't even conscious enough to realize that you didn't want it, and you didn't decide you didn't want it, and it's in you now. So how do you get rid of it? 80% of the planet is walking around ingesting energy. They have no idea they're ingesting energy. It's going inside them. It's creating all kinds of issues and problems in so many lives. 15% of the people are realizing it and working on it, and 5% of the people have already mastered it. So if you're here, you're either 5% or part of the 15% of the people that are starting to understand that that's not my energy. Listen, if you go to a table, let's say a beautiful banquet table, and there's food all out on the table and it looks beautiful, you're going to know some of those things at the table that don't agree with you. Well, you could be allergic to that and go into anaphylactic shock, right? You're not going to eat it, right? You're going to make a decision based on that table. But in the table of life, or in the table of energy and vibration, you're not even considering it. You're just walking out into the world, unbeknownst to all this stuff. It's bombarding you, and you're not even conscious, and you're taking it in. How are you taking it in? Through the news, through the media, through people, places, and things. It's coming and it's bombarding you everywhere. And you have the power to stop it out here. This is your auric field. This is where you consciously say no. Not once it's inside you. If you eat something that you don't like, that you're allergic to, once it's inside you, it's got to run its course, right? Energy and vibration has to run its course too. That's not my rules. That's universal law. So be conscious of when you sit on those bleachers, you're looking at the game of life. What part of the game do you want to play? The game's going to go on. You can't alter the game, but you can, with free will, decide where you want to play, what you want to take in, right? So protect your energy. That's what we're talking about here. Once you've done the inner work and you've removed that stuff, you want to protect that energy. You want to protect yourself. You want to be conscious to say, hey, that's not mine. I don't like it. You can say whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. You can be whatever you want. That's fine. But that's not me, right? Thank you for reminding me about that meditation with Elwood Babbitt. That was a really cool one. I never understood. Stevie, I mean, he's like, go into the forest and bury your legs into the ground up to the knees and just sit on the ground. And it changed my life. He changed my life. He was a really cool guy.
Brad, I have a little question.
Hi, Blanca.
Hey, so you were talking about healing past traumas and asking spirit for help. So how does that actually work?
Can you repeat that again?
Sure, that you were saying how you can heal past traumas asking spirit. So how would that actually work?
Okay, so you can if you are a person who connects to spirit, right? And you understand that spirit is helping you and working with you. You see, spirit is always in service, whether it's family members, your guides, or teachers are always in service. And you need to ask. Spirit is not something that generally comes into your vibration unless you ask. They'll give you nudges. They'll try to, give you ideas or little nuances and things. But when you are conscious and you've done a lot of this inner work and you're connected in a certain way, if you ask for help, help will be there, right? Spirit is not in the business of removing your trauma, Blanca. But spirit is in the business to offer to you a thinking or an idea that will alter your perception around the trauma and bring you to a place of better understanding, right? And clear picture on how it has affected you and how it is you need to move forward. You follow?
Yes.
Spirit, again, is not in the business to alter free will or to alter your existence, but definitely with support to bring to you a clearer understanding of something, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was a great teacher who said, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. This is a beautiful teaching, right? So spirit, that was spirit speaking, right? Because the true essence of spirit would have that kind of forgiveness where man does not have that kind of forgiveness. So spirit will offer to you a simple idea or bring you to a greater understanding with that. Does that help you?
Yeah, it makes me think something like when you're able to talk about it, like you just did about what you had to go through, and it won't hurt you anymore.
Right. So I told this story earlier about the trauma that I had trouble getting rid of, and
Yes.
I actually asked Spirit. I mean, Spirit helped me understand that. They didn't do the work for me. I still had to let it go. I still had to forgive that person. I still had to move on. But Spirit offered to me a new understanding and a new concept. And that concept was so powerful that I was able to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
Great
Yeah.
question.
Thank you, Brad.
So are you able to share how you do your forgiveness work? How, in this particular example of yours, you were able to forgive? How were you able to let go and move on? How long does it take? It sounds like a lot of hard work.
I should have brought up a glass of water with me. So let's address how long it takes. It doesn't have to take long. It can happen in the moment. Okay. Is that happen all the time? No. Sometimes it takes time to heal, right? Time heals all wounds. And that is a true statement to some degree. But it can seriously happen in the moment. It's one thing to say to somebody that you forgive them. It's another to forgive them. Sometimes words are shallow. Sometimes words are said that aren't meant. In yourself is the same thing. You speak to yourself and say, I forgive that person. Are those words? Or do you really mean it? So until you really mean it, you won't have it. And until you really mean it, it may take a moment or it may take your whole lifetime. You can't fool yourself, and you certainly can't fool spirit. You can fool people who are living all the time. Mind you, the most destructive forgiveness is the words, I forgive you, and you do not believe it. That is very, very detrimental. Know that you mean it. And when you say it, be done with it. And never utter another word. Because if you bring it back up within yourself, then you haven't done it. I would love to tell the story because my son is here, and I think it's not an appropriate story for video. But I'm gonna generalize. Jeremy, I love him, my love of my life. Jeremy, we woke up one morning, right? And Jeremy said to me, he goes, "Oh, so and so died." I'm not going to say any names. And I said to him, I go, I'll say a prayer for him. Just a true story. And Jeremy was younger, and he said, "How could you say a prayer for him?" You know, Priyanka, if you are going to forgive, you have to mean it. It's one thing to lie to somebody. It's another to lie to yourself. If you are to forgive, you are to forgive. If you are to hold a grudge, hold a grudge. But know that the grudge will nudge you closer to the end of your time. Does that answer your question?
Yes, so I'm like I'm on the mountain of forgiveness. I'm trying to get to the top of it. And there was a magic pill that someone gave me who said, just keep saying the Ho'oponopono prayer again and again. And I keep saying it, but it's not coming from my heart, so I don't reach the top of the mountain.
There are many tools, everyone. There are many tools that have been handed down through the centuries. There's books, there's masters, there's teachers. There's so many beautiful things that can help you. Prayers, rosary beads, whatever tool works for you, they're all good, right? They're all good, but you have to mean it. Once you mean it, you don't need any tools anymore. Do you need tools? Tools are the thing that help you to get to where you want to go. You know, I've trained psychics and mediums for years and years and years, and we've used this tool and that tool and this tool and that tool. Well, what is the best tool? This is the best tool. This doesn't need anything. You don't need anything. All you need to do is align this correctly, and it's all right there. Right? I tell people this. 2 fingers, right? Pinch yourself, right? You feel that? You feel that? You got to feel it. You know, you got to know it, right? I used to always tell the story. People say, "Oh, I know what you're talking about." I'm like, "You do? When did you find that out?" "Oh, I've never really had that happen to me, but I know what it is." And I'm like, "Really?" So, you know, when I was a young boy, my mother, now, Brad, the stove is hot. Don't touch the stove. Right? She told me it was hot. Right? I could have gone my whole life realizing when my mother told me the stove was hot. Well, as a young boy, I walked up, touched the stove. I knew what a hot stove was then. But until I touched the stove, I didn't know what it was. So until you touch forgiveness, you'll know what it is. And once you touch it, it's yours. You can never go back. I can never go back to the thing like, well, my mother said the stove was hot, and she told me it was hot. I know what it means to be hot. No, you don't. It's like somebody telling you, "Oh, yeah, I know what it's like to lose your mother." Is your mom still alive? She is. Talk to me when you know what you're talking about. You know, I know what it is to do mediumship, or I know this. It's all possible, but life is experiential, and until you experience it, you don't know it. And again, that's not my rules. That's universal law. You don't know what the ocean tastes like till you taste it. You know, you don't know what falling in love is until you fall in love. I mean, I know what it's, yeah, no, no, you don't know what it's like to lose a finger till you lose a finger. You could see somebody with a finger lost. You could imagine that what it would feel like, but you don't know what it is. So this inner work is experiential. It happens when you start to experience it. You know it. Once you know it, it's like you know how to do it. You don't unlearn something. Everything that goes in stays there. So it's experiential. Jeremy, I'm sorry I used that story, but anyway, the man who died was Charles Manson. And when he died, I was like, I'll say a prayer for him, I mean, whatever. Anyway, I had to get, I couldn't go and not do that. But remember that story, son? So I hope everybody enjoyed the evening. I had a really, really good time with it. Thank you so much. I got a lot of cool things happening. Check out YouTube, Brad Fristensky, youtube.com. I got some YouTubes coming out. I'm going to be posting stuff weekly. I'm very excited about it. I have finally got some helpers in my life. Danielle and Priyanka are really making me shake and move, and I'm really excited. And of course, Allison, she's one of my gatekeepers, so she's like my everything as well. Check out my website, share my website, share my YouTubes, share what I got going on. I'm going to be raffling off once a month a free reading. So go into my website and just sign up for it. See what's going on there. I do readings if you guys are interested. I'm kind of doing like the little fall thing and trying to give back a little bit. So if you know anybody looking for any of that, I will be doing this once a month, the first Monday of every month, from 8 to 10. For as far as out as I can remember or find a topic to talk about. If you guys have topics and stuff you want to hear or talk about, send me an email, post something on my website, say, hey, I'd really like to do an evening on mediumship or, side cards or psychic or whatever you want to, anything. I would love to. If I can't do it, I'll find some spirit to help me do it. Yeah, so please, check out my stuff, share it. The more I share it, the more I get out there. I'm grateful for all of you and love you guys. Thank you.